And we're live from the Legend Takeover studio behind me. I'm Bruno Sassi, your host, and today I'm going to be asking your questions, the ones you send it, the one you're going to send, to our dear Heather O'Reilly, 3-time Olympic champion, world champion, one of the greatest ever to play the game, one of those symbolic players of the US women's national team over the course of a whole decade and then some. Let me invite her over, see if she's around already. Among us, Heather O'Reilly with the beautiful green tick next to her, meaning that she's just waiting for us. Heyo!
Yo!
Heyo! How are you?
I'm great.
It's great to
This
have
is
you on
my
the show.
go-to backdrop. So I'm gonna let all the viewers know. If you're wondering if this is a painting of me, yes, it is.
It is.
It was a gift, and it's in my office. So if you want to judge me on that, that's fair. But yes, this is my Instagram studio here.
Okay, so anyone who's a 3-time Olympic champion or world champion in the chat and has any reservations, please manifest this right now, right?
Exactly.
How are you doing at home? So much home for all of us. How has it been for you? Lockdown.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I mean, it's a crazy time, unprecedented. It's clearly something that we're all trying to adjust to. I feel lucky in a way that I have my health, and right now I'm actually pregnant. I'm like 8 months pregnant.
I know,
Expecting a
congratulations.
baby, and thank you. Expecting a baby June 12th. So for me, actually, the last 3 months, March, April, May now, was essentially the last trimester of my pregnancy. So
Yeah.
in a way, this has allowed me to really slow down, because I'm like a very busy person. I like to stay active, both physically, mentally, emotionally. So this has kind of like actually forced me to chill, which I
Yeah.
think, might be some silver lining, as we're clearly all trying to find silver lining. And it's been a lot of quality time with my husband, and we got a new puppy like 6 months ago. So it's just been a lot of good home time, which I guess is nice for people. And this would have been my first season sitting out. I just
Yeah.
recently retired. So for me personally, on a selfish level, I haven't had that like excruciating feeling of watching my
Yeah.
former teammates quite yet. So I'm like, well, I'm not playing, but neither are they.
That's quite the
Um,
silver lining, isn't it? I hadn't thought about
yeah,
that.
but I feel for them, and I know everybody's looking forward to getting back on the pitch.
Yeah,
But
of course.
yeah, I mean, it hasn't obviously been an ideal time to be pregnant during a pandemic. I've doctor's appointments and hospitals and stuff like that, like going to a hospital and having to put the mask on, all that. It's stressful, and I don't know when my parents will be able to visit. They're about 8 hours away
Yeah.
in New Jersey, which is a pretty big like hot spot for the virus. So, I want them to stay at home. So, I mean, there's some stresses, but what can you do? We're all trying to manage this the best that we can.
Yeah, exactly. And as you will say, I mean, the important thing is for us to try to see the positive out of all of it, right? Because we all have a story to tell. And this is unprecedented that the whole world all of a sudden has something to tell a story about and to worry about. A lot of people asking, how's the baby? Everything's fine with pregnancy, with the
Yeah,
levels,
everything's
blood tests. So,
fine. Yeah, everything's fine. He's already, not to get too personal, but he's already a league winner. I don't think it takes anybody, everybody can do the math, that there was a little bit of overlap at the end of my professional season. And when the baby came, so he's already a winner. He's already a champion. And yeah, I mean, he's doing great. And I guess I'm in the zone now of really any day now. He'll come in hopefully the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But hey, maybe over the next 45 minutes, you guys will see me go into labor. But no, he's doing good.
Scoop, that's the word I've been waiting for in this show.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That would be one for the ages. An Instagram live gone real. That would be.
Yeah, it would be. I have a question about your Instagram lives, but I'll leave it for later. That you know what it is. Someone was just asking. Sorry that I missed the name. I just didn't want to go browse it all back. But what have you been watching? Like we all watching a lot of TV, a lot of
Yeah.
documentaries, a lot of everything. What have you been watching this time at home? Oh, do you have a favorite movie? A lot of like along these lines. Just tell me a bit about what have you been doing?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this has made it over to Europe, but a big phenomenon in the U.S. has been this show called Tiger King,
Yeah, I know.
which was a documentary, a real great look into America. So we ripped through Tiger King. I would say that my husband and I like aren't like generally the sit down and totally watch a ton of TV. I've been trying to like wrap up a lot of loose ends. Like I finished, for instance, my UEFA B coaching course, which was, kind of lingering for like the last 6 months.
Uh-huh.
So I finished that. Like, we did our taxes way earlier than ever. We're like cleaning out drawers that haven't seen, the light of day in like years. So more kind of, I stay busy more like doing that kind of stuff, and I try to read as much as I can. Yeah, I did watch Tiger King, and another big one in the U.S. right now is this series on Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Last
That's
Dance.
absolutely incredible, and
It is.
yeah, what a winner, what a competitor. And he actually went to the same university as I did. He played at University of North Carolina for a couple of years before he went pro. So the first episode was a lot of love
Yeah.
about the university and like that it got him to where he was as a competitor. So yeah, those have been kind of our two go-tos. But between like the baby coming and between the puppy, like I feel like all of our energy is towards like raising these new family members.
Well, it takes quite a lot of energy, I'll tell you. Talking about like what I was telling you about this right before we went on live. We have this campaign at FIFA, World Cup at Home, through which users on Twitter, they choose the World Cup games, men's, women's, youth, pro, that they want to watch again, and our YouTube channel broadcasts these matches as if they were live, happening right there and then, the full 90 minutes. If you could choose one, whatever World Cup game from whatever World Cup and whatever men's, women's, any point in time, which one would you be more curious about watching it again? Or for the first time?
Well, clearly, since I have a painting of myself behind me, there's no doubt I'm going to choose a game that I was in. No, but I do think one of my most favorite goals that I've ever scored was in the 2011 World Cup against Colombia in the third game of the tournament. Yeah, I just had a long range shot, went like side panel. It was the best. So because I was able to score one of my favorite goals in a World Cup, I think that would be the game that I would be
I'll have it for you.
most likely to want to watch again. And we won.
Have it right
You
here
pulled it
for
up.
you. I'll pull it up, yeah. Yeah. Ooh. It looks like you're a lefty because we're mirrored, of course.
Yeah, I know. That was funny. I was like, whoa, it's like reversed.
Yeah, I was good, but not that good, right?
Yeah, exactly. Look at that game face. Look at me just attack it. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. It looks like I cannot do that with my left foot, but all the viewers should know that was my right. We gave it a little.
Look who's watching.
Yeah, and there's me a hand.
It's me watching.
So
I didn't know you were literally.
I would
We didn't set it
watch
up.
that game again.
We didn't set it up. I didn't know. I had. Well, I thought we were going to talk about this goal, but I didn't know you were going to choose this one.
You're like, I know her. I know her. Yeah.
I actually thought you were going to talk about.
Goal. I mean, clearly, like the 2015 final was really special. It's always like one of those things, right? I mean, like I didn't get on the pitch in the 2015 final, so I feel like I watched the game plenty. So it's like it's one of those personal things that like every game and every tournament means something different to you. Maybe because of different roles that you played. But yeah, clearly like winning the World Cup, I would want to see that again. and just to see, mostly to just see my teammates and like reminisce over the good times, like on the pitch and off the pitch, you know, especially at big tournaments like that, because you spend nearly 5 weeks between the preparation and then the actual games. And
Yeah.
then especially if you progress, it's a lot of time, like 30 people together, like you really kind of become a family. So a lot of like card games and a lot of just like long dinners that you just hang out and chat. So all those kinds of things are the things that you remember even more than the medals, which I do have one with me right here.
Oh wow! Really? One of several. Which one is this one?
This is the World Cup Canada 2015
Oh, bring it
winners
closer.
medal.
The actual one.
Yeah.
We have like fake replicas at FIFA, you know. When we work in a World Cup, we get one of those, but it's not the real thing, you
No, real deal. Real
know.
deal.
There's an interesting question here. So just a bit of context before. So you're called up for the national team. You're 17 years old. You're in high school. 2 years later, you're an Olympic champion, right? A couple of years later, you win three back-to-back gold medals, Olympic gold medals. You're 30 years old. You go to a World Cup. You haven't won it yet. You're one of the biggest names in U.S. soccer, but you haven't won the World Cup yet. Alex River 909. What was it like to finally win the Women's World Cup? Was it like a chip on your shoulder at that time?
Oh, absolutely. It was. It was something that kind of like my sort of group of players,
Yeah.
um, like Abby Wambach, Shannon Box, Christy Rampone, people of that sort of generation. We were really proud of what we were able to accomplish with the U.S. team, like all the Olympic medals, most of the time ranked #1 in the world, you know, all the Algarve Cups, all that. But it was like this elusive World Cup win that we just couldn't finalize. And
Hmm.
it was hanging over us, because I think that, you know, when Mia Hamm retired and Julie Foudy and a lot of these idols that we really looked up to, we took carrying the torch as a
Uh-huh.
real serious job. Um, and, you know, we felt like we were doing a good job carrying that torch, but we hadn't quite like made our
Yeah.
mark yet. So, and we couldn't have gotten much closer in 2011, you know, bringing back 2011, you know, after that Colombia game, we went on and then made the final against Japan. And as, you know, some viewers remember, it was an amazing game, but
Yeah.
Japan took it into penalty kicks. We were up twice in the game. We were up 1-0, they tied it. We were up 2-1, they tied it. And then it goes into penalty kicks, and it was just not meant to be for us. And Japan, you know, they played great, and Sawa was epic, and the country needed it, recovering from the tsunami devastation. And it was just one of those things that we just like went home, like we could not have been closer,
Hmm.
and not sort of do it. And so, yeah, I do feel like it was something that was hanging over us. And we knew that in 2015 that we had the team, we had the talent, we had a very deep team. Although it sounds pretty arrogant, we like to think that we probably could have submitted 2 teams into that
Yeah,
tournament
but it
and
is
like
true, yeah.
and done, you know, quite well. And it was up in Canada, which for us was kind of a perfect scenario, because we were able to sort of view it as a home tournament, because we
Uh-huh.
had so many friends and family and fans, and it wasn't bad travel for us. But you know, we didn't have extra pressure of actually being the host country.
Yeah.
So the stars were just aligning, and so yeah, we were so thrilled to that to that time get it done. And I remember Carly Lloyd as my like locker mate in the dressing room, because she wore #10 and I was #9.
Yeah.
So a lot of our matches we sat next to each other, and I still remember that halftime. I just was just like, dude, you just scored a hat trick in the World Cup final, and also one of them was from midfield. And and she was just like, I know. And so one of my roles as like as a reserve, as a sub, was to just kind of like try to ease the nerves, and like just, even though we were up by a few goals at that point, like I had 2011 replaying in my mind.
Of
So
course.
it was just about kind of like keeping calm and just making sure that we saw it out until the final whistle.
In hindsight, I mean, of course, it broke your heart, I can imagine, 2011. But for women's football, was it not a good thing that you had a different country winning it for the first time, and how people perceived first the game, but even the U.S. national team, in that had you won 7, 11, 15, and 19, people have this habit of misjudging whoever, whenever there's a dynasty, whenever there's a domination like that. Was it a good for the game and even for the legacy of the U.S. national team that Japan won
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Well, I'll have to remind you, Bruno, we actually didn't win in 2007. We
Yeah, no, but that's what I
actually,
mean. You lost to Germany, but
oh,
that's what I
yeah.
mean. That you had two different ones, and
Yeah, yeah.
then the U.S.
I mean,
took the crown back. That's what I mean.
yeah, listen, I mean, I hear that people say those kinds of things, and yeah, it's good for the game. I am a fan of dynasties. I think that there's something amazing and beautiful of like maintained excellence over a long time. And maybe that's just because I've had the honor of being part of a few different dynasties with like my university team or the U.S. national team. But yeah, to win over decades, with different managers, different styles of play, I think is beautiful in itself. So I would have loved to win 2011, but yeah, I mean, you also recognize that different countries are investing in the game, and
Yeah.
and I believe in the power of sport and the power of soccer or football to change societies, to change mindsets. And so the more success that these national teams have, particularly on the women's side, can really affect society and the way that women are viewed and the way that girls grow up knowing that they can, to do anything and achieve big things. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not heartless about it, but I certainly would have liked to win that one.
You were there on the pitch. It's a whole different thing. That's my hindsight is completely different than yours. I'm quite sure. I have a question from someone who was really happy when she knew you were the interviewee today. From Celeste.
Ask her what is the secret for them to be so successful.
Oh, nice.
Dana Castellanos.
Yeah.
Great girl. She was here last week. 21 years old, played in Atletico de Madrid in Spain. Just started to be a pro right now. I mean, she just graduated from Florida State and now is made it to the pros. Had a season cut short because of COVID-19, and she was really happy to know that you were the one she was going to be asking a question. What's the secret? That simple a question.
Oh, cool. Yeah, what a player. And in the U.S. we have our academy systems, can might as well be called our university systems. So she played for Florida State against my team that I coach at now, UNC. So I've seen her play many, many times as a coach playing against her and also doing some broadcasting for her. What an absolute player. Secret of success, I think, I think for the U.S. team and for myself was like an embracing of uncomfortable for a long time, like being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And by that, I mean, from a physical standpoint, like it's just always been in the U.S. mentality to like be fitter, grind harder, want it more, all these sort of intangibles. That's kind of like, I'm willing to sustain this uncomfortable feeling for longer than you are. And that's what separates us. So one, I think from a physical standpoint, I think we do embrace that. I think from a mentality standpoint also, it is kind of the same concept in that like some people love playing the underdog card, and I get it. It's a nice feeling to feel like you don't have much to lose and you can kind of go out there and be free. But I think that the real elite coaches, players, they would rather not be the underdogs, because that means that they're not expected to win. And I've been on a lot of teams that are expected to win for the good or the bad, but that's just kind of the way that it is. And kind of flipping your mindset of embracing that, of loving being the one that has the target on your back that people are coming after. And we even saw it with the U.S. team this year at the World Cup. I mean, there was a lot of talk beforehand, like, okay, everybody's catching up. Clubs around the world are investing. A lot of national teams are getting very, very close. And to be honest, the U.S. team, I thought, like, rose the level of play once again in terms of, like, the way that they won, the style, not losing a game. They continue to find ways of increasing that, like, that winning mentality and that competitiveness. So, and that's not a very nice feeling to always have to be on, to always have to win, to go into every tournament saying, like, okay, if we win gold, that's success. If we win anything else, that's considered a failure. I mean, it's very high stakes, but that kind of ingrained mentality, I think, is sort of what has led us to that success.
There's a question from Abby. Was it Abby? Yeah. Abby McD. What was it like being a national team at such a young age after everything that you just said? No? 17 years old when you joined for the first time. Were you ready for that kind of pressure, or was the fact of being that young and being put down like in the lion's den exactly what built up that resilience on you?
I think that I didn't feel ready at the time. Like, I really do know that, like, it was a little bit of my preparation, but it was a little bit of luck too, like, that I was selected. I remember being kind of scouted by the national team coach. She just happened to come by, like, this pitch that I was playing at, and I played, like, the best game ever this one day.
That was high school, right?
I'm sorry?
That was still high school. That was still high school, right?
It was like she came to a game that was like a youth national team game. But it was very, like, random pitch. It wasn't a game. There was a lot of people in the crowd. So in that, I recognized, like, that was pretty lucky that she saw me in this one game. But I always tell young players now, like, you have to play every single training session, every single game, like you're being watched. Like, you would be proud of yourself if they sent that tape to the national team coach, or, like, play like every day you have a video camera just on you, to just maintain those habits and that mentality every single play, every single training session. So yeah, I recognize there was an element of luck to it, but what a dream for a young player. I think when you're young, you don't feel the pressure quite as much, or at least I didn't. I just felt like, I was like, this is awesome. I'm playing with some of my idols. Like, I really admired a lot of these women, and now I was, like, considered their teammate. And I really had, like, a youthful, not recklessness, but just, like, a bravery, I think, to just go out in the field and do what I did best. And I was very proud to contribute to the Olympic win in 2004 as a youngster. I was only 19, and I scored in the semifinal, which led us on to win the gold medal, which is another one of my proudest moments. And I think that I look back on that game and I'm like, I wasn't nervous. I was just like this young kid being thrown into overtime. And I just don't think that you understand the magnitude of it all when you're so young. So there's something nice about that, actually.
Yeah. You're 19 as the semifinal of the Olympic Games, right?
Yeah.
And game is tied. One.
Yeah, against Germany.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm Brazilian, so I remember the final later. And I remember watching this. And you missed a chance shortly before that. Huh?
Yeah,
like you're onto the pitch, like, I don't know, 10 minutes before the end of the game, 15. Then 5 minutes before you actually score the winning goal, you miss a very clear chance.
Yeah.
And you're 19 and you don't lose your nerve. This is pretty incredible.
Yeah. Bruno, you're good digging into the archives there. No, I always talk about that moment a lot as, like, a really defining moment in my life and in my career, because I missed a sitter basically. I beat the goalkeeper. It was on my left, which isn't my strongest. That's why I was teasing when that shot looked like it came off my left leg. And I just scuffed the chance. I missed it, and it dinged off the post and went out for a goal kick. And it was a very, like, exposing, embarrassing moment, because my teammates were exhausted. I had this opportunity. You're a super sub. This is exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to change the game. I kind of had one of those moments as like a kid where like I just felt so exposed. But I had like the grit. I had the grit to shake it off and to dig deep and to believe in myself and that I was there for a reason. And just a few minutes later, Mia Hamm got end line, crossed back, and I was able to finish that one. So I'm really I'm proud of my young self that I was able to do that in that big moment.
Yeah, receiving a cross from what has to be one of your idols, I'm sure, right? So that I
Yeah.
mean, it
Exactly.
is quite mind-boggling just listening to it. I have a question from Twitter that was Neva Hirsch. Who player in which team was the toughest opposition you've ever had to face in a World Cup specifically?
Oh wow. Um, I was kind of going back in my mind between some of the amazing German players
Yeah,
who had a dominant time and winning back to back in 03 and 07, as really Birgit Prinz obviously was
yeah.
such a legend for them. But I'm gonna have to go with Marta in 2007. Marta's, you want to say her peak was back then, but she has shone brightly since then. But in 2007, we lost 4-0 to Brazil in the semifinal, which was like one of our biggest deficits like ever. Like
Yeah.
I can't remember a time getting losing 4-0, but we were down a man for the majority of the game, and we were just kind of going for it. So not to be defensive about the scoreline, but that is the truth of the matter. But anyways, Marta was so good that game. She just carved us up. And one of her like probably favorite goals is late in that match. I don't know if it made it 3-0 or 4, but she basically just dribbled our entire team. And
Yes.
she was a star. She was an absolute star in that World Cup. So she was maybe the toughest player to play against.
Yeah, it's not a bad choice, I suppose. Uh, Favorite team you played against, which is along the same lines. Let's go Pew. Let's go Pew. Team.
It was always fun playing against Canada, I think.
Oh
They're
yeah,
kind of like they're like our local rivals, sort of. And a lot of the U.S. players and Canadian players know each other quite well
yeah,
because, we play at the same universities or like club teams. So there's a lot of familiarity between the two sides. And it just always seemed as though they were always it was like David versus Goliath a little bit.
yeah.
But they were fighters, and Christine Sinclair is one of the best goal scorers ever. So they were always coming after us really good. And we always seemingly have the edge, but they're a great team as well. But it was always fun to kind of like to see them think that they were very, very close and to always be on the winning end of it once time more. So, yeah, that was always a really good rivalry for us.
From the very get-go, right? Because your first title with the U.S. national team, the under 19 for the women, it was against Canada, right? In 2000, what, 2002.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we had a World Cup. It was under 19 was
yeah,
what they considered the age
yeah. At the time,
grouping at that time, and it was the first ever Youth World Cup. It was up in Canada, and yeah, it was
I was
awesome. We
there,
played
right?
them in the final. We
Yeah,
played Sinclair, and yeah, we were able to win that. And that's what that was like a really good foundation for me to like learn about what it meant to like wear the USA crest, to compete in a big tournament.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I think the FIFA Youth World Cups are really critical. One, it's really good football, and you see these young stars. But I think that from a player's perspective, it really kind of is a teaser and good preparation to prepare you for the senior level.
Oh yeah, it's what we should be doing. We as FIFA, I mean, it's our role to do exactly that. No? Just provide a stage for you to shine from a very early stage in your career. Um, where is it? I don't know. Before I go to that, Emma from Twitter as well. Your funniest memory of a World Cup?
Funniest.
Yeah,
Funniest memory.
It's only 8 o'clock in the evening here. So.
Shoot. Okay, after we lost 4-0 to Brazil, which was tragic, and we were like pretty much all like crying and just devastated. We were heading back to the hotel, and I remember going through the mix zone of the media, and I was like looking down at my phone because obviously our family and friends were like trying to console us, saying like, see you soon, see you in the lobby at the hotel. So I'm like making arrangements, and it's right in front of our bus, and it was like sliding doors, and basically I'm just like looking down at my phone, and I just walk right into these glass doors. And it actually did hurt when I walked into the glass doors, but like I just like glanced up hoping that nobody saw me, and my entire team was just like looking out the windows. It was like kind of like they were like this with like wiping tears, and then they're like like just dying. So it was just, I think that it was just meant to be. I had to, bring some humor to that time, but yeah, people still remember that. So yeah, in a moment of sadness, I was able to bring some humor.
Like the 4-0 was not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I was happy to see a question from Hedvig Lindahl, one of the greatest goalkeepers in the world, Swedish national team goalkeeper from Wolfsburg. She asked a very intelligent question, very interesting one. Who is the most tactically intelligent player you've ever played with or against?
Ooh, that's a great question. I had the honor of playing with Kim Little at Arsenal for around a year and a half. And she really impresses me with the way that she sees the game and plays the game. For the most part, I was playing against her, well, a little bit with the national team when Scotland played US a few times. But in the US League, she played for Seattle, and I played for Kansas City. So we had some really good matches back and forth. But then I got to play with her at Arsenal too. So just hearing the way that she kind of like thought about the game, especially breaking down like kind of some video, was really insightful. And I think that she has a good understanding of spacing in the midfield that like is very unselfish in a way. Like I think a lot of players, maybe it's a US thing or what, but they kind of get into their zone of like where do I need to be, how do I get on the ball. And I think that Kim had like a broader understanding of how does she move into a space to help her teammates. And I think that she was very aware of what else is going on around her positionally. So I always respected that a lot.
I was going to ask you about that, not about Kim, but about going to Arsenal, going to England. What were the main differences, football, and also in terms of life? I mean, having been raised in New Jersey, but then having lived most of your life in North Carolina, it's pretty different from London. What was it like living in London and playing English football?
Yeah, well, I always wanted to play somewhere in Europe. Well, particularly, I always wanted to play in England, and I hope to play in London just because it's a world-class city, and the language barrier wouldn't be tough for me, things like that. And also, it's Arsenal Football Club. It's a massive club. So for me, that was kind of where I dedicated my energies to try to play. But there was major differences. I mean, from a U.S. perspective, like you don't think that England and the U.S. would be that different. Again, it's like culturally somewhat similar, language similar, and you wouldn't expect too many huge differences. But there were actually more than I thought. I think from a football perspective, I mean, they definitely very much in the league like value build up and a little bit more like strategic playing out of the back all the time, where the US is still, I mean, you don't want to look at it so black and white and saying direct, because it's not direct. It's not like we're like just kicking the ball forward and running harder than everybody else. And
Well, if it was.
I get a little bit sensitive when people think the U.S. style is like that. I mean,
It's like rugby.
clearly
Yeah.
for us to win, World Cups, there has to be some tactics and some technical ability to play out. But it was very, very valued in England to possess out of the back, to build everything out of the back, to not be like a box to box running game. So yeah, that took a little bit to get used to, I think. And the conditions are just tough. Every team is tactically sound in that, like, they sit in low blocks a lot. Like, it's very hard to break down. So because they're not stretching the field and it's not like a counter-attacking game, a lot of it is like a very tight chess match kind of affair. Cagey, I guess you could say.
Yeah, which for a player like you is quite a difference, no? I mean, you thrive under the opposite of this, like in
Yeah,
different conditions.
exactly. And so, yeah, it presented some challenges and opportunity for growth. That's why I look at somebody like Sam Kerr, and I'm so bummed that the league was kind of canceled or postponed, because I was really looking forward to somebody like her to see how she's going to be doing over with Chelsea, just because she won't have the same amount of space that she's been used to in Australia and the US League. So from a football standpoint, I would say that was different. From like a off the field standpoint, I think everything in America, as you probably see in movies and stuff like that, is very like rah, very very like positive, very optimistic. And I found in England it was like not as like that. It was just more I think that the proper footballer was somebody that like came to work, put the work day in, and then went back with their families. And I was used to like a little bit more like, I don't know, dressing room camaraderie, or doing things outside the pitch together. I think that teams in America get very, very close. Like, they are your good friends. We have seen each other at like a lot of weddings and been there for each other during these like, huge things in our life. And so I felt like in England it was a little bit more like, no, this is our job, and then I have my friends and family outside my job. So that was a little bit of a difference, I would say.
Does it stem from NCAA, from the fact of having been like raised playing football in college and the fraternity that does around a college team?
Maybe, yeah, that's a good point. I think that definitely can be it. I think that, I think that from the very beginning, at least the U.S. national team, like when I think back to those idols that I was talking about earlier, Brandy Chastain, Mia Hamm, Julie Foudy. So I was a young kid watching these women compete, and they like went after it at practice. They, no holds. And they, if it was a six-a-side tournament or something like that, like one of the teams would be like cursing out the other one. And then they were best friends, like outside the pitch. And I just learned, I think, that like you can do both, because it's all about respect, I think. And that work ethic at training was something that I learned from them, that it's like the deepest form of respect and love is actually kicking the crap out of each other at practice, and like raising each other's games to new heights, like just pushing the next person and being like, I love you, I care about you, and I expect X from you, and so this is how I'm going to approach training today. And I think that sort of attitude is one that has helped the U.S. team maintain their excellence for a long time.
You sound like Michael Jordan in Last Dance.
I think there are some similarities there.
Yeah, there's a reason. Tar Heel, blood. Let's listen to two questions, actually. He's making my job so much easier. Paul Scholes, who was here yesterday, fantastic midfielder. He had a couple of questions for you.
The presence of England in the Women's World Cup was just massive. It's like quite
That's
a turning point.
babbling.
What would you want me to ask Heather Alex Martin?
Well, Phil Neville with the England Lionesses did an amazing job. He's still doing an amazing job. he raised the profile massively of women's football in England. I think he did really well at the World Cup. And now he's announced that he's going to be leaving. I just wanted to ask Heather, I think one of the coaches that's been linked heavily with the role of the next England coach is Jill Ellis, who was coach of the USA women's team when they won the World Cup. Could you just ask what she thinks she could bring to the English team, what are her strengths, what are her qualities? And also, I think she's a midfield player, Heather, as well, so I just wondered if there was any role models that she has, whether it's in the women's game or the men's game, and somebody that helped her game.
Fantastic. Two questions there.
There we are. Start with A first. Jill Ellis.
That was a great question, and I'm just pumped if Paul Scholes knows who I am. This is amazing.
Of course he does. How wouldn't he?
That's unbelievable. There was one point when I was over at Arsenal that I wear Adidas boots, and it was hard to get new boots when they would come out because they were shipping from the US or whatever. So anyways, I had a boot debacle for a couple weeks. Yeah. And so I just had to go to the shop and buy my own boots, which I hadn't done in a long time. But then my teammates reminded me of the epic Paul Scholes story is when he came back to Manchester United and played a few matches, I think, but he didn't have boots. So he just went to the shop and got these cheap boots or whatever. Anyways, I would have a bad touch or something. I'd blame it on the boots. So he had a lot more class than I did with that. But no, I was thinking about him. I mean, what an absolute legend. And he still has his touch. I've seen some clips of him at charity matches and stuff like that. He's still pulling out.
Still amazing through passes, yeah.
But to answer his questions, I think, I've heard that Jill Ellis is at least considering it or has thrown her name in the hat or the FA has. One, I think that it's, I admire her bravery. I think a lot of coaches would just kind of be okay, I won 2 World Cups. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my life. Yeah. Or do something totally different. And I actually thought that about Jill after she won the 15 World Cup. I thought that, it's you did it, you achieved it. How much more can you go? How much higher can you get? And the fact that she wanted another cycle, I admired it from her. And she went for it and she won again. So that kind of hunger, I think, is something that's very admirable. And I think that is her quality that she would bring to England, of just kind of I'm not the underdog anymore. I've won, once, then I won twice. Now I'm coming over here, and people will be coming for her and coming for England. So I think that, her guts to kind of go for it would be something that's admirable. I think that she obviously assembled some really good teams and some good coaching staffs. And to be honest, there was a lot of personalities that she had to manage, veteran players, bringing in young players. There was a lot to her role with the U.S. team. And so, I'm just looking at these comments. They're just so funny. Gio, you think I'm overrated? Come on, man. So yeah, I think that she has managed big personalities before, and she has won. And I know that England is always looking at the U.S. and saying they just still kind of have this winning edge that we're seeking. And so, I think that she could bring the winning mentality. She knows how to assemble elite groups. And she's obviously ambitious to keep learning and growing.
Fantastic.
Role
models.
Yeah.
Men and women, whoever.
Yeah. Well, Paul Scholes, man. I mean, he's a role model. Before I went to Arsenal, everybody makes fun of me because now I'm an Arsenal fan. Come on, I played there. I wore the badge, but I did grow up being a Man U supporter. So I kind of switched, but it's okay. You got to let me off.
I think,
let me off on the painting and then let me off on switching.
When you wear the badge, I think you're off the hook. I think it's
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But a play, I love watching Aaron Robin. I think Robin is a wing player. He comes off the right a lot of times. And the thing that I like about Robin is that like he had his tricks. Like he would cut inside, bend it lefty, and he did it over and over and over again. And I was a player that would maybe be like criticized as being somewhat predictable, like with the way that I played or crossed and served the box. But I would always kind of be like, listen, if it's working and it's productive and my teammates know what to expect from me, my coaches know what to expect from me, I think there's a lot of value in that. And I look at Robin as somebody that's like, well, this guy did the same thing for like 15 years and did it over and over. Of course, the opponents knew what was coming, but he was still able to do it and perform at such a high level. So I really looked up to him. Clearly, I've talked about Mia Hamm quite a bit here. She was somebody that I just really looked up to so much as a young player, and then to be able to overlap with her on the national team was a huge honor. And I actually wore number 9 for quite a while after she retired, which was the ultimate honor for a young player. I hear a baby crying. Is that on your side?
That's on my side, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping that it wasn't here at my house.
No, not just yet. I think that would be pretty early, pretty precocious. Yeah. No,
yeah.
It's Liam. He is very opinionated already 4 months out.
He didn't agree with the Robin call.
Yeah, he's not that much into like a man as a role model for women. He's already growing up the right way. You were talking about well, you have talked about players who are like Kim Little, someone who's intelligent. You're talking about your B license. You were offered a job to stick with Arsenal as part of the training staff, like the coaching staff. At the time, it was probably not the right thing. He moved back to the US. Is there something? There's a question. There's actually more than one. There's Women's Footy ID. You co-hosted the previous Women's World Cup and TV station. You're a mom to be, and you're a coach already because of your license. What is next? Is coaching next now?
I think so. Yeah, I think that I'm at this time of my life that a lot of footballers probably can agree with. Like, we've done this one thing with so much focus for so long, and I don't think it's a bad thing to take a little bit of time and a few years, especially being a female and wanting to have a family, things like that, to kind of test the water and try some different things. And in terms of broadcasting, I had such a thrill being in Paris, working on the other side of the lines. Like, listen, I mean, nothing beats being a player, but close is being able to talk about what you would have done on the field and critique others. So no, I absolutely loved being kind of in the broadcast booth. That's a lot of fun to stay involved in the game, and I love coaching as well. So I think I'm going to pursue both of those avenues before I kind of like go with my normal intensity into one of them. So yeah, I've been kind of like accumulating my coaching badges, so when the time comes and the right opportunity comes to go do something, I can do it well. So that's kind of my plan, and I think that it's good to not jump into something too quickly, because like I said, we have been very ultra focused for a long time, and I think, yeah, when my time over playing with Arsenal was wrapping up, they did offer, like, we would love for you to be a player coach, we would love for you to be an assistant coach. And I felt personally like I had a couple more years in my legs to be able to contribute. And so I came back with North Carolina Courage, and we were able to be successful there. So I feel like I finished my playing career in a way that I was happy and fulfilled and proud of. And that was a wonderful opportunity, but I think that emotionally I wasn't quite there yet to wrap up my time on the field. But I've stayed in wonderful contact with those guys over at Arsenal, and your life hopefully will present time for different opportunities. So I'm kind of keeping it open, and to be honest, I'm not even just coaching women. I am interested in at least giving it a try to coach either boys or men's, and I don't think that we should even have these barriers in our minds. A lot of times people are like, oh, you're getting into coaching, like that's awesome, like young girls need wonderful role models like you. And I'm like, okay, well, thanks for saying that, and that's true, but I never said that I was coaching young girls. Like,
Yeah.
maybe
They
I'm
just
coaching men. Maybe I'm
yeah.
coaching 18-year-old guys. Like,
Sure.
so I
Yeah,
see
it's
that,
it's
like,
the
I
kind of
will,
so-called glass ceiling that that's right there. No, they just limited your plateau to half of the field, not even half actually,
yeah.
just right off
Oh,
the gate.
Sarai liked that one. Sarai liked that one.
Ah, there she is.
Yeah.
Sarai. Sarai, how are you? Been a long time. No, you're completely right. Talking about the future a bit. Um, Hayes Preach asks, which nation would you expect to surprise us in 2023 by the way things have evolved in 19? Do you have any early dark horse picks?
Well, I was pretty accurate when I said that Spain was going to surprise people last World Cup. I mean, I don't think that they necessarily had their best showing, but I think that they have um, really demonstrated their ability to hang with the best. And I think that Spain will be a top team definitely in 2023. I think that if Australia, you might know more than me, but if Australia is the hosts
I don't know
of the
anything. They're going to
tournament,
vote it.
I think that they will take that very seriously, and it will be Sam Kerr's time to shine once
Mm.
again. And I know that, this last World Cup, like, she scored a bunch of goals, but probably didn't end the way that she wanted to. And what a wonderful opportunity that would be for her to really kind of grow the sport down under, as they say. But yeah, I think that Australia, I think that Spain could surprise some people, but Vlatko Andonovski, the head coach of the women's national team now at the U.S., is a top manager. I really look up to him. He's a mentor of mine. So I think that it will be hard to knock them off the pedestal with him at the helm.
Then someone, who was it? NIPP 11. Current or young players who you're expecting to do great things from. Not about teams now, but about players who are young and upcoming that you would see like lighting up for the future.
Great question. Well, Dana Castellanos,
Mm.
that would be wonderful. I think that there's a young player named Lauren James who currently plays for Manchester
Nice.
United
Yeah.
that I played with at Arsenal. She was so young when I was there, but we were buddies. Like, I think I'm like over 15 years older than her. We were actually studying for our driving tests together because I had to get my English driving license, which was
On
a
the right side,
disaster.
yeah.
Like, because I was on the other side of the road, I was like so nervous every day. But anyways, I passed. To everybody that's wondering, I passed my first, my written test and my practical. I passed with flying colors. Anyways, but Lauren was like quizzing me on like the street signs and all that, so that was kind of our inside joke together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I look at her and I'm just like, if she could continue to stay disciplined, be coachable, keep an open mind. Like, the sky is the limit for her. Her and her brother actually are top players, and she has a huge future in front of her. I also look at somebody like Leah Williamson with England, and I just think that, like, because of her pedigree being with Arsenal for so long, like,
Hmm.
she's just such a professional already. And Viv Miedema too. I mean, I look at these, I was going to say girls, but young women,
Yeah.
early 20s, and they've already seen the world. They've already played in big tournaments. They're such pros. And so they have 10 plus years of great football ahead of them. So I would tell people to look out for them.
And we have to watch them, definitely. Last one before we leave. Well, before we leave, I'm going to ask him something else. But Toenail Gate. Manny Petty, Elio Krieger live. Tell us the story. What's going on? Everyone's talking about toenails.
Okay, so when we were always together with national teams, like, you obviously have to focus on your training and things like that, but you also have some hours to kill in the day.
Yeah.
And so part of being a footballer is taking care of yourself mentally, physically. And so Allie and I were very good friends. So we would go get our nails done in whatever city we were in. And it was our kind of time to, like, relax and catch up and just, talk about things outside football. So yeah, we had this running joke that we were opening our own salon one day called O Kriegers. and the jingle for it is, "Oh, Kriegers for nails at their best." Nailed it. And we do this whole thing. Anyway, so the fans loved it. They made T-shirts for it, the whole thing. And so we just felt like during quarantine, it would be nice to get together on Instagram Live. We said, bring a cocktail or a mocktail. I have to have the mocktails because I can't drink right now. So we have our little drinks and we paint our nails and just catch up on life. You know, most of the stuff we would talk about if we were just together, but you know, sometimes we have to monitor it a little bit because we have lots of fans watching. But yeah, it was just our way to kind of connect and for the fans to kind of forget about these harsh realities of life for like a second and just have a little fun. I mean, it was ridiculous banter. But I think that we have episode 2 coming up, so the fans will have to keep an eye out for that.
A lot of people are asking about episode 2, so it's good that you already went there. Listen, I just showed you, well, actually showed you like questions from 2 people because the one's from last week. Next week, we're like lining up the people who are going to be here. The one that is certain to be here on Wednesday, 7 o'clock Central European Time, 6 o'clock UK. Dirk Quick, great winger. Well, played in different positions, kind of like you as well. Always like in the flank as a winger, as a wing back. Great player from Liverpool, Dutch player. What would you like to know from him? What can I ask him? What can I not even ask him? Like, can I show him just like I showed you a couple of questions now?
Oh, that's unbelievable because actually he is also a player that I really looked up to, like from my position standpoint. I said Robin earlier, but Dirk Kuyt, I mean, what an engine he had. I think that he, going back to like what we were talking about of like embracing your strengths and bringing it over and over. I mean, he like had so much grit. He had such a big like heart and engine. He probably covered more ground than anybody, and his teammates and his teams, you know, benefited from it, whether it was the Netherlands or Liverpool. I guess because later in my career, the funny thing with footballers is you tend to make your way back on the field. Carly Lloyd is an exception. She made her way towards center forward. But like I started out playing striker, then I played outside midfield, and actually the last like 5 or 6 games of my career, I had to play right back because we had a injury. And I remember Dirk Kuyt too, like he was a wing back, but I think actually he was playing like an outside defender sort of role or fullback. So yeah, I guess I would ask Dirk like how he felt about that, if he felt like it was somewhat of a demotion to get pushed back or if he embraced that role, and how he mentally went into that last tournament because that was some of his best football. So he definitely kept us wanting more.
That's a great question. He's going to love it. That's excellent. Oh, Heather, thank you. Hey, yo, with us. So we could spend the whole day. Sorry, I promise you it'll be like 45 minutes. We've been here for an hour. And I have a lot of people asking stuff and very interesting stuff. But, Bo, what?
Oh, one of my friends, Chris,
really?
just wrote in.
Actually, there's a lot of people who feel like they know what they're talking about. This is great. This is fantastic. From all over the world, lots of flags. We love that. This is the best thing of all. This is just seeing like people with flags from India, from Brazil, from Argentina. I've seen loads of them. It's really, really nice. Heather, thank you very much.
It is. If that's one thing that's coming out of this is that like we are in this together. You know, for all of us from all over the world, this is tough times. But things like sport and football are like, you know, these are the common things that kind of bind us. And so I love seeing all the people from all over and let's be there for each other. Our football community, let's be there for each other.
Thank you very much. So great to have you here. Thank you very much. It's
Thank
great.
you guys, and good questions, everyone. Except Gio, those were not good questions.
Take care. Hey, have a good evening.
See you
Bye.
guys.
Thank you very much again. Huh?
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.